Welcome back to the Nordic Championship. You're here at ground zero, where Orcs is remaining a good 30 centimeters away from me, so I don't make him incredibly ill.
Yeah, please turn away when you cough.
I've been using the cough button, so you know that's good enough, right?
Yeah, but don't press the button then cough in my face. That doesn't prevent it against that.
Oh, that's what I was doing.
Unlucky.
I'm so sorry. Yes, we just saw Atlando get their first win of the Nordic League. They beat Nordic, which was a very impressive game by Jelbu and Andreas especially. They both had excellent games, but the whole team performed really well. Nordic have got some soul searching to do. We are 1/4 of the way through the championship. So, I mean, there's a lot of time for Nordic to bounce back. Like I said, though, 3 losses this early on is not a good look for a team that was pegged as being number 1, maybe number 2 seed coming into the entire tournament.
And I believe 3 losses in a row. I'm pretty sure the first matchup was against Dusty, which is their win, and then they've just lost since then. So definitely a rough streak, and especially when you think back to their 1 win, they should have lost it. I'm just flat out saying it. 3 inhibitors down. Enemy team has Baron as well. The Nexus was like an auto away from dying. They got very lucky in that situation. But, you know, speaking of Dusty, they're up in our next match.
They are indeed. Dusty will be taking on Bifrost in this next game. And Dusty are a team that has been up and down a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they lost last week to Hillerod, and Hillerod kind of upset, given that Dusty are, again, another kind of favorite team here.
There's an iconic statement in League of Legends that I can use right now to apply to Dusty.
Is it the Scara one?
Yeah, up until they lose the game. They're winning up until they lose the game.
They are basically GGU or Coast. They're Coast.
It's just because they're doing so well. You have Legions in the mid lane, a formidable force. He looked great on Victor despite aesthetic camping him.
Coincidence has popped off in every game
Coincidence is so good on the Yorick, and it just feels like everything is going perfectly until it isn't.
Okay.
And then they lose. So hopefully they can bounce back against Bifrost. But Bifrost, they had an interesting approach to some of their strategies, a lot of variation. They played like a protect the AD carry with a Lulu mid yesterday. So I'm interested to see how this draft pans out, because Bifrost, a little bit of a wild card in that regard.
I'm excited to see. Again, you know, I talked about at the start, I was really excited to come into the Nordics. There's a lot of familiar faces for me. Coincidence, if you've been watching European Masters, he has had performances at the European Masters. Obviously, Energy. You might know him from picking Lulu into Faker. This guy's got a lot of history behind him as well, and I know him from the UK scene from years gone by. So I'm really excited to see these guys and the rest of their teams as well get on and take each other on here. And let's see at the band. It's Draven, Gragas. I'm not wrong, by the way. I was right about those 2 things that I said, right?
Yeah,
you just looked like I was wrong.
No.
And I was like, Dan, have I just said something wrong?
I'm just cautious of you breathing in my direction. No, I'm joking.
I always look at Dan's facial reactions when I say something to judge whether I've said something wrong or something right. And sometimes Dan goes like this. And I'm like, Dan, have I just said something wrong?
No, it was all fine.
It's like a relationship. I try and read his body language and get it wrong. We are wearing matching shirts, so...
Yeah, is that a sign of has our relationship moved to the next level?
Yeah, to matching shirts,
yes.
to matching shirts level. Right, let's take a look at the bands. It is going to be Riven as well, the Akali, and now they're going to round the bands out here with the Syndra, which has been pretty popular on Red side so far.
So Bifrost going for very much just sort of power picks. A lot of flex picks out there and a lot of strong picks in the meta. For Dusty, however, very much more targeted, especially with the Draven and the Riven towards Takeset and Fiala. Does not mean that Dusty have this first pick priority. We have the likes of Set available, Senna available. Misfortune is definitely an option. You get your pick out of those strong AD carries. It looks like they're just going to lock that one in. So a lot of team fighting power, a lot of lane prowess already.
I feel like you've got to take Jarvan if you want to take a jungler away, right?
Yeah, I feel like Jarvan would be a solid pickup here, just to deny that away specifically from the combination with the MF. It's been so powerful, particularly in the LPL. It's been played a lot because you know how much they love team fights. So I would want to deny that. And Shackle, he played Jarvan yesterday so incredibly well. He just was a monster in team fights, able to build quite a bit of damage and just churn everyone up. Do you see the Varus coming out for take set? So not prioritizing these 2 strong AD carries that we've seen sort of dominate since they were released in terms of Senna and Aphelios. Instead going for something a little bit more reliable, but also there has been concerns about effective positioning. We saw that in the last game where Thor was just struggling to find his place in team fights, but unsurprisingly, Shackle gets the Jarvan.
Yeah, we thought that was going to be the case, especially when you see a Misfortune locked in so early on. Let's see where Dusty end up going now. Joachim and Legions. They've got their first phase of the draft to round out. What would you be looking for to complement Misfortune? Because whenever you see a Misfortune, you always like to build something that complements her.
Yeah, well, I think the Lee Sin makes complete sense in the hands of Joachim.
No sense.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. Sorry, in the hands of Joachim, it's something he likes to play. And when Jarvan's off the table, is high up in the priority. In terms of if they're locking something in to go in tandem with the Misfortune, only 35 has been really solid on the Leona pick, and it works really well with Misfortune in lane. Obviously, the passive from Leona, every time you cast a spell, it applies sunlight. If your ally hits them, it then procs that damage. Misfortunes make it range, just essentially procs it almost instantly. So in the lane, as soon as Leona engages, a lot of damage, but instead, looking to prioritize Legion, so going for something, a pretty strong blind in terms of the LeBlanc, but also limits the effectiveness of the Jarvan up against that. I will say, however, this is a really strong mid-jungle combo for Joachim and Legions, and it suggests that they're wanting to sort of establish dominance on the center of the map.
It's important. Mid-jungle combo has been important in League of Legends for quite some time, and it's going to be the Lissandra, which we could only assume is definitely something that Energy plays. Yeah. It's something that is decent into LeBlanc, so he's happy to pick that.
Energy's been bringing back a lot of throwback picks, but we have seen this played recently in the NALCS as a counter to the LeBlanc. It is an age-old thing in the fact that you are pretty difficult for the LeBlanc to kill, and the fact that you can CC when she dashes in, you can run Aftershock to give those extra resistances, and then the ult makes you a difficult target, as well as the mobility from the claw, and also just team fighting is really strong. It's synergizing with the Jarvan. If they catch the MF inside the Cataclysm, very easy for Energy to make an impact. And you see Braum banned away because the power it has in tandem with the Varus. This sets up only 35 for Leona pick extremely well, but Yorick being taken away from Coincidence, that split push win condition, a massive threat in the last 2 games.
It's been something that Coincidence has been known for throughout his League of Legends top lane career, but also something that he's performed on incredibly well in the Nordic League so far. He has almost solely been a win condition by himself. I think they had their loss versus Hillary. They actually shouldn't have lost. Coincidence was popping off on Yorick, and then they just threw, basically. So. Yeah,
and they've actually gone for the ban onto Leona, which I like, denying it from only 35. Would make it very difficult for Takeset to sort of survive the laning phase up against that. Thresh coming out, again, another solid ban, which it's an element of safety offered towards that Varus. Question is where they're going to go beyond this. There is still Nautilus available for the side of Dusty to go aggressive. For Bifrost, they could take the Tahm Kench if they want something to keep Takeset alive, but right now, potentially looking towards the Galio as an option.
We'll see. They've got a lot of options in the bag. The Ornn is a really, really good blind pick top laner in most cases, has very few incredibly bad matchups, so they're going to pick that up. Yeah,
it allows them to have counter pick in the bot lane, although it is still technically a flex. You can play the Ornn as a support if needs be, but for now, expecting it to go top lane for Fiala. Don't have the Yorick to deal with in the side lane, although Coincidence could still take a split pusher if they want that to be their later game win condition. Obviously, Lee Sin and LeBlanc might struggle to make an impact as we get to the later stages, so having an extra ace up your sleeve could be a big factor.
So now we're going to see this composition rounded out. If you are Dusty, the Fiora comes out. That is essentially when you pick Fiora, you know that she's never going to really join the team. It's split push central for Coincidence. He's going to look to just try and bully Fiala on whatever Fiala looks to take. And it's going to be finally, we'll see exactly what Dusty ends up going with. I had a conversation with you earlier today where you were like, I think range supports are coming back in. I think range supports are definitely working their way back into the meta. We'll see if Dusty agrees. They've been hovering a couple of them in this draft so far, and it will be the Karma.
Yeah, Karma often a lot of lane presence. There's so much poke coming out from the Misfortune and the Karma, and if Bifrost go a melee champion, you have to be so clean with your engages, otherwise you're going to just be poked down and threatened in the laning phase. I think that the reason they're sort of having a bit of a return is because the scaling is such a huge component in games at the moment. I think lane presence priority is really important, so the range can supports can allow that. But also in the later stages, would you rather have the likes of a Soraka or something like the Karma, or there's the melee supports who do sort of fall off? We do see the Gangplank come in, so it looks like they are flexing the Ornn bot lane.
It's going to be a rough bot lane though.
Yeah, it's not going to offer very much to the Varus. I think one of the big issues with Ornn as well is you compare it to a Nautilus or Leona, who can almost instantaneously apply their CC.
But you've got to chain 2 skills or be near a wall.
It's strong at level 6. When you hit that level 6 point, there is so much teamfight potential from Bifrost, and their composition is you group together as 5, potentially as 4 with Gangplank holding the Fiora, and you throw down the Cannon Barrage, you throw down the Cataclysm, the Ornn Horn, everything, and it's very easy to potentially pick off some of these immobile carries. But my concern is that Dusty, they have super strong laning presence on the bot lane, they have an extremely powerful mid-jungle duo, and then they have a late game win condition in the Fiora. Dusty need to get this game going early, but they definitely have strong win conditions. Bifrost, I'm concerned about how the bot lane matchup will go, and if they just end up struggling across the board. They're never really going to get off the ground. But I will say, if they get to the later stages, the composition's very good at team fighting.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, one of the things when they've got that much CC and that much engage is that when you're going up against a Fiora, you can just engage 4v5 if you need to.
Yeah.
And you know that Fiora is very rarely going to be a factor in a team fight, especially versus this much CC. It's one of the things that Fiora really struggles with. If she can't time her riposte, which obviously got nerfed a few patches ago, if you can't time that to perfection in a lot of team fights, then you're just donezo in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I think the Ornn coming in as a support is very much Bifrost saying that they want this to go later on. Because the reason being is they saw the Fiora counter and they went, right, are we more bothered about a good matchup bot lane in the early game, or are we more concerned about this Fiora being a threat in the side lane? And they said the Fiora is the problem, so they took a gangplank, something that can wave clear well and can assist a fight with the engage without even being there. So it puts Bifrost in a situation where if they get through the early game, if they can survive and weather the storm, they'll be in a pretty solid position as long as Quinstance doesn't get too far ahead.
I get the feeling as we jump into game right now, guys, that actually maybe Dusty drafted Karma for that exact reason. They were like, well, if they read the Fiora Ornn matchup is really bad and they want someone to match into Fiora, then they put Ornn bot, for instance, because it's the only thing they can do. Ornn's going to suck into this matchup. Yeah. Let's jump onto the Rift, though. Dusty versus Bifrost. We'll see who takes the win here. Dusty, definitely a team that has high expectations in this league. Coach Vigod, obviously, someone who's very well known within the scene and in League of Legends in Europe in general. And we'll see if he can pilot his team to a victory here. And another team that really does need another victory on the board.
Yeah, 1-2, not the score you want to be on. Bifrost ahead in the standings, although this would be an opportunity for them to equalize. So I guess we'll see if the opportunity arises here. But we have actually got a pause coming in for now. So just having a client bug coming out for Quinstance, so we'll get that reset quickly. Fortunately, not suffering from yesterday's issues where we had consistent pauses due to the storm plaguing us throughout the day. This one should be over pretty fast.
I know all about that storm.
Yeah.
Got stuck at an airport for 17 hours and then had to change airport to get here.
Nice.
Actually, I can tell you about my story. I don't know if any people know. If you're following my Instagram, you'll know my story. Just a little plug there. Woke up at 4:30 on Sunday. Drove to Gatwick Airport, which is about 2 hours from my house. Got ready for an 8 a.m. flight to Stockholm. Get on the plane, as per usual.
Yep.
The storm's going, the wind's going, you know, it's a bit shaky. The plane's kind of going like that a little bit when we were on the stand. I was thinking, it's fine, you know. Pilot comes on and goes, look, the wind's pretty high. We might not be able to go, but they are letting people go because the wind's going down and up and down and up. And then we started moving, and he was like, yeah, we've been cleared to go. We're just going to get out during a pocket of low wind. And I was like, cool. We get to the runway, and the pilot goes, yeah, I'm sorry, actually, we have a tech issue. So I was thinking, no, it's something really serious, like something's gone really wrong with the plane. He's like, yeah, tech issue.
The food cart's broken.
Yeah, exactly. We've got to go back and go back and get on stand. And I was like, oh, it's fine. We'll get it sorted. Yeah, the windscreen wiper's broken. And I was like,
it's actually important.
It is important in that weather condition.
You know, I know about you, but I wouldn't want my pilot.
But it must have been a really, really, really broken windscreen wiper because they couldn't fix it. So we had to get off the plane.
Yeah.
And then they were like, yeah, we're going to delay your plane till 2. And I was like, okay, so 6 hours, fine, whatever. They get us back into the boarding gate. And I'm there, I'm waiting in the boarding gate. I'm ready to get to Stockholm at this point. I'm like, my heart is burning for Stockholm. And then they say, yeah, by the way, the plane's cancelled. We couldn't fix the windscreen wiper. Why did they put me back in the holding thing? So then I talked to my boy Rob at DreamHack, and he was like, look, we're going to get you here tonight. And I was like, great, I'm ready. The only flight that we can get is at another airport. And I was like, cool. It's fine. Had to get my car back. Drove to another airport. We had to book a last-minute ticket and last-minute parking and all that kind of stuff. Get to the airport, ready to go. As we jump back into game, by the way, we are ready to go. Just long story short, that plane was also delayed by 2 hours.
Wow.
So I didn't get into Sweden after having woken up at 4 a.m. on Sunday until 1 a.m. UK time. And then I got to the apartment by 2 a.m. Swedish time. Feels good, man. That was my story. Was it a really interesting story?
Yeah, fascinating.
It bought enough time for us to...
perfectly.
Get back into this Dusty versus Bifrost matchup. Basically, I wanted everyone to feel sorry for me. Do you feel sorry for me yet?
I mean, to a degree, but you're also here casting some of the best League of Legends.
It's true.
Just available right now. So I feel like...
Forget the LEC.
It's consolation.
It's all about the Nordic League.
Yep. I mean, think how many Danish players there are.
Worldwide, let alone...
Yeah, just in general.
There's Think about how many Nordic players have been exported.
That's the thing I really like about Dusty, though. Icelandic org, and they've been able to just find a lot of Icelandic talent where you wouldn't just otherwise expect it in a country with such a low population.
It's really awesome to see. And Dusty now going for a late invade onto this blue buff here that hasn't been spotted out. We'll see if this catches Bifrost by surprise. Oh, they are going to pop round and going to get the steal. Nope, didn't get the steal. I think that actually went over. So a good smite from Shakal that actually punishes Dusty pretty heavily as well, because now Joachim, unfortunately, is going to walk away without a buff and will not get a pull on his red either.
Yeah, a lot of time wasted. Only 35 and Hoyes want to go straight into the lane. Really important for them to get priority here. You're going to see a little bit of lane dominance, I expect, just because of the amount of poke available to this Misfortune and the Karma. You'd expect this coming out of the draft. And you see, oh, Shakal, he's punishing that.
That's good.
You go for the invade, he's going to steal away your blue because he knows you're wasting a lot of time soloing out your red with no leash. So Shakal rewarded pretty heavily. He's going to get a 3-buff start thanks to that invade being failed essentially by Dusty.
Yeah, Shakal really aggressive read as well. No vision coverage to see that Shakal has done this, so even more so that Joachim's going to go Sonic Wave over the wall and realize that he has unfortunately not got a buff there.
Yeah, warning pings comes out. I think there was a sense that there was a possibility it could happen, but unfortunately Joachim, it's not the biggest issue not having the blue on Lee Sin. Obviously the energy regen can be nice in fights, but for the most part, it's not going to really dictate you running out of mana, obviously, because it's not a resource for him, but still the XP difference, a big factor. Joachim's still level 2, Shakal on level 3, and he still has all his non-buff camps to clear, so his job in a comfortable spot, and anything that delays the early pressure from Joachim is going to be a big factor, because we talked about this mid-jungle combo having so much early presence. So speaking of early presence, in the bot lane, only 35, just shoved up to the tower and put a lot of pressure down on Takeset and Pedersen.
We really didn't expect anything different in this lane matchup, though. I mean, you've got a fairly immobile AD carry with a pre-6 support who is essentially useless. I mean, he really doesn't do that much pre-6. He has to combo 2 skills to get the knock up.
Yeah, he's good in a melee matchup.
Yeah.
On support, he can actually trade pretty effectively.
But into range matchups, he's useless.
Yeah, really. Until you hit level 6, they have to massively misplay to get caught by your CC. So for now, CS advantage being built up pretty significantly by Hoyes over Takeset. But this is the sort of cost. This is what you get from flexing the Ornn to the bot lane. And remember, Karma did recently get buffs. A little bit of extra base damage on the Q and the W. And that just means even more power on the trading. You can see, I don't think needed the buffs to chunk Takeset out there.
What this has traded out, though, is obviously the CS difference doesn't tell the whole story, but Fiala has been bullying Coincidence in that matchup for the most part. It has been something that has been hard for Coincidence to trade into. Coincidence is still doing fine. CS is actually up, but you can see that this Gangplank-Fiora matchup can be rough for Fiora.
Yeah, in the early levels, for sure. Level 6 is a little bit more kill pressure if Gangplank overextends, but really, with Fiora, you're waiting for the later stages. Oh. I mean, that's the strength of the Lissandra pick. Even when threatened by this mid-jungle, you have the escape, you have the aftershock to sort of survive damage, but Legions, he has the wave in a pretty good spot right now, just frozen in front of his tower, and it's something we saw across Dusty's games from Legions, is solid wave management and putting it into a spot where it just makes it very difficult for the other mid laner. Energy low on mana, having to step up to contest that wave. And now you see that with Joachim assisting him, they're just going to try and push up. And he's just going to have to go for the recall. He's too low on mana to clear out that wave, and that means there's a little bit of a window for Joachim to get control of the bot side river. And the priority bot lane always going to be a massive factor. Hoyes and only 35 can always move first if they want to assist Joachim when he's going to contest vision or potentially the dragon later on.
The dragon's going to be the big one, especially if they can get pressure onto that early. The earlier you take that first dragon, the more you can capitalize on your bot lane pressure. And that's something that I think that they'll be looking at if you're Dusty. Just because you're going to have that constant shove in the bot lane, you're always going to force Takeset and Pedersen into a rough spot. You have to make them choose between CS and rotations and losing plates. I mean, you can see Takeset is on, well, he's now, 16 CS down, 17 CS down, and he's on such low HP that even farming under turret is going to be a pain in the butt for him.
Yeah.
So this is just that matchup that, you know, they knew what they were getting into when they flexed Ornn into the bot matchup here.
I honestly feel like TP on the Varus here would have potentially been a decent option. I guess heal helps you against all-ins, but this lane doesn't need to all-in you to apply dominance. There's good wards covering a potential dive. Knockup comes in, but I think they're just both dead in this situation. Pedersen for sure The cannon barrage will come down, but do nothing but ward them away. If Joachim looks for this, though, he should be able to find Takes It easily, and...
Takes It has got flash, but I don't think it's going to save him. We'll see if he's maybe looking to trade 1-for-1 at the end of the day here. Obviously, there was a lot of damage taken. They jump in. I think only 35 will get away as well. Joachim takes the final hit, and that should be 2 plates, double kill in the bot lane. That was the risk of flexing Ornn down there, and they have paid exactly as we thought they would. That mid lane matchup is definitely spicy though, but this is a good start for Dusty. This is what they needed, and as long as Coincidence continues to hold his own in the top lane, they will continue to reap the rewards of that massive mismatch in the bot side of the map as Legions jumps in. Shakal is there, but it's a really nice duke out as energy comes through. They get a lock onto Joachim, who's forced away, and I don't think Shakal will commit any further than he already has.
Really rough play coming out from Energy there. So low in mana and decides to go for the attempted all-in with Shackle. He ends up losing his flash, ends up losing his ult, no TP to catch this wave, so things going pretty heavily Dusty favored, and they now have a 2,000 gold lead. This is how they need the game to go in the early levels. So it's a good start so far. Shackle will try and freeze the wave, but Legions will not let that happen.
This is good for Dusty, though. Exactly as we said, they needed to get off to a good start versus Bifrost. They needed to put the pressure on, especially on that bot side of the map. They obviously have the late game win condition of Coincidence, but you never want to rely on that when you've got such a powerful early game presence and mid game presence as well.
It will give them an out when they get to the later stage of the game and team fights are often necessary. They won't need to do that against a team that really excels at team fights, but they still need that early momentum. They want Legions to be strong. They want Joachim to have a strong early game, and very importantly, they want Hoyes and only 35 to dominate this matchup. And so far, almost double the CS and a kill up. If you look at the items as well, Vamp Scepter and Longsword to a BF and Caulfield. Yeah, I mean, look at the goal difference. Over 1,000 already. Dusty in a really solid position so far, and these picks working out for them.
I was a really heads-up draft, actually, bringing up the Karma, realizing that you put on top, Quinston's going to have a field day. If you put on bot, then he's going to suck versus the Karma, especially pre-6. They're going to get a free dragon here, exactly as we talked about, wanting to utilize the early bot pressure to take those first dragons, start to put the pressure on for the Dragon Soul. And this is looking pretty solid right now for Dusty. And again, you can only help but think, or you only think that Joachim is going to continue to twist the knife on the bottom side of the map. He's going to continue to look for dive opportunities, and suddenly Legion is going to start to join him as well. And when Legion does that, they are going to open up that bot side of the map. The wound will be just hemorrhaging at that point for Bifrost, and then we're looking towards maybe a rotation for Rift Herald.
Yeah, blue actually gets reset there because Legion shoved the wave in and Energy wanted to catch it. Energy needs that blue. He's constantly being seen on low mana. He needs the wave clear so that he can move. If you end up going for a dive like that and Lysandra turns up, it's so capable of Bifrost just turning the entire fight around. But in that previous one, there was no assistance. No one to move down, no one to help, only the ult coming out from Fiala. And he gets the blue, but Legions has picked up this. He's cleared out the wave, and he's looking to move with Joachim into this Herald. These early objectives are the priority right now, and Dusty just picking them up as soon as they can. They've already moved their bot lane to the top side. And it does free up a little bit of space for Takes It to farm up because he's not playing into the Misfortune again. But the cost is his Herald. You're going to lose out on this.
It was a full rotate. I was expecting maybe only 35 to rotate up. I didn't know they were going to make a full rotate up to the top lane because they were dominating so hard.
I think it's just sounded, though. You want to move those strong champions around on the map and take the objectives. Now that the Herald's down, they can either look to pressure that top tower, or once they push the wave in, they can reset again and apply pressure bot. That bot lane tower has 3 plates still available, though, and it means you have a fresh tower. Remember the higher health plates at each, but now Legions.
That was a really nice little side step. They've wasted so many ultimates just to get Legions down here. He will. I say that. The double mimic coming out, the double distortion coming out really nicely. Pedersen forced to flash and use
the Corrupting Potion?
Corrupting Potion is going to keep him alive, I think, by a sliver of HP. How did he get out of that? And it's going to pay for it.
Him with a flag.
With a lot of damage here as well, as only 35 jumps in. They have been absolutely decimated because they're going to lose every plate on the top side of this map, including the turret. That was beautiful from Legions. He did eventually go down, like we said, but they burned so much to make that happen.
Yeah, it's very hard to come down to the LeBlanc. They brought so many members in to do so, and they're going to end up losing out this tower in the top lane as a cost. So massive advantage for Dusty, and they're keeping their pace of the game. Although the favorable thing is that Bifrost are getting something.
They are getting some plates in the middle side of the map. The teleport is there for... No, it's not there for Legions just yet. I'm wondering whether they can keep that mid lane tower alive. If they can, it's a pretty good result for Dusty overall.
100%. Coincidence have moved up to cover. They don't even get that third plate, actually. So overall, massive goal lead for Dusty right now. Almost 3,000, actually. That puts them in a really good position. This Misfortune is so strong. Got that completed item, tier 2 boots as well, 2-0 in terms of kill score, and 40 CS up. And you can see the goal difference now, almost 2,000. This MF is an absolute monster.
You can see where the first pick came through for Dusty. They are very confident. And Hoy's taking that Misfortune into a very solid matchup in the bot side of the map. And now they're going to put her mid as well, just trying to look to pressure some of the easier plates and get as much gold, squeeze as much gold from the Bifrost lineup as they can.
And this game looks like it's Dusty's in the bag, but we've seen them in positions like this before, and it just go a little bit amiss towards the end. So I'm not holding my breath yet, but
oh my God.
takes that should be, because that damage is unreal coming out.
Dragon should be spawning relatively soon as well, so they are setting up that vision just for when it comes online. That'll be the second Dragon, and then that starts to put pressure onto Bifrost to have to react. You know, you never really want to lose that third Dragon in a row, so they are just keeping an eye as Legions, again, trading back into energy with that Aftershock is keeping himself pretty healthy in some of these trades, but Legion's putting on the pressure where he can.
Yeah, and Dusty have priority across all 3 lanes, so when they make the rotations, when they make the movements, they are faster to do so. Dragon in 50 seconds now, but Joachim, nice stopwatch coming out there.
Really good stopwatch, and now Hoyes and Only 35 are going to join. Another good stopwatch from Shakal to stop the kick, but I don't know how much it'll do as he jumps in, gets a really good cataclysm. That's a great escape, but now the Ornn is going to be able to re-engage as Hoyes is now stuck in the middle of nowhere. He gets a great knock-up. What a turnaround by Bifrost. Overextension from Dusty, and now if Hoyes goes down as well, this will be disaster. Shakal doesn't have the EQ combo, though. They can't do much more. What a brilliant defense by Bifrost.
And just as I was saying before, Dusty have been in this position before and managed to throw things away. Ult's going to come out to clear the waves. This will save the tower. But Bifrost taking a very good team fight. The stopwatch from Shackle was perfect, and then the coordination between the Lissandra and the Jarvan, and suddenly Dusty realizing they are not in a good position to have a full-on team fight, especially when the Cannon Barrage came in. So Bifrost, the lead is still in favor of Dusty. They still have a lot of gold on the Misfortune, who didn't go down, but they managed to bridge the gap to a degree.
I don't think they needed to go for the tower dive. I think just shove the tower. You've got a Misfortune, right? Yeah. Shove the tower in normally, but
and it was overzealous. They could have just set up for the Dragon. They win that fight because of how powerful the Misfortune is. The reason they lost that was because they were in such a rough position to open it up behind the tower and having to run through. But the Dragon does go over to Dusty. Bifrost had to reset after the end of that, so Dusty back on the map sooner. It will be a Mountain Soul, going to be the one on the cards, but Dusty only with 2 Dragons now, so not too much of a threat right now.
But they can't let the third one go. Bifrost will not want to let that third Dragon go, because then suddenly you have to contest every Dragon after that, like we said in the first game.
They can start trading objectives, so you deny the Dragon, they end up getting Baron, and the Dragon really is not valuable for Bifrost if they're only getting their first one compared to a 4th with Dusty. Vision control still very much in the favor of Dusty around this mid lane. You can see quite a few control wards, and Hoy's doing a lot of work to clear it out. It feels like Bifrost are very much pushed in and just trying to hold up these towers. I say a big factor is that they've kept this mid tower alive, as it just denies Hoy's and Only 35 being able to shove in deep and then rotate elsewhere on the map. For now, though, Bifrost definitely looking better than they did in the early levels after that team fight.
Yeah, they've kind of stabilized. It did feel like it was starting to spiral out of control. And yes, they capitalized on an overzealous Dusty move, but Bifrost have kept things fairly level.
I think overzealous Dusty moves has been
the name of the game.
The story of Dusty so far in the Nordic Championship. They've looked really solid, but they've struggled at times. And we see the tier being picked up by Fiora, so this is a build that's recently popped up. Quite a while ago, Manamune was buffed to now give 35 base AD. And then on top of that, especially if you go Presence of Mind, you end up getting so much mana, and the item can give 100 attack damage when it's fully stacked up, which for Fiora is absolutely huge. Obviously, the on-hit effect's nice, the mana pool's nice, but it's just the raw AD to sync up with the amount of damage you're doing as a huge team. Joachim, though, he's looking for a flank here.
Joachim on the sidelines, just looking to maybe make something happen as the Make It Rain comes through, slowing Pedersen up. But no real opportunity, I think, for Joachim to find and engage. Maybe just waiting for this Rift Herald to get started, which it has. Energy coming through now. Fiora will have to rotate down. Maybe they're going to give it up for free.
Legion's on OTP and nowhere near, however.
Yeah.
I feel like this would be a rough fight to take. I think Joken was looking for a pick. They know that they're walking over. A big MF ult could turn things around here.
Have to be so careful because of the gap closing ability. There's the engage coming through. They're trying to get onto Hoyes. It's not a great Ornn ultimate though. And suddenly Energy immediately has to ultimate himself. They do manage to avoid most of the damage, and Legion just popping in. Here comes the teleport as well. Legion's jump straight on. They blow up take set. And now they're going to continue onto Energy. The flash of the root comes through as well. But I don't know if they can get any more work done. The best case scenario would be to get the tower, but I think there is going to be too much defense coming through from Bifrost.
Cannon Barrage cleared out the wave. They should be able to push up on this next one, and that might be the opportunity. But Fiala is here and has quite a bit of wave clear with that Triforce finished. Dusty, though, taking a solid team fight there off the back of a botched engage from Bifrost.
Boys maybe trying to bait things in, just getting a lot of damage down, but not quite in this situation. Doesn't have the critical strike to be able to just pop people in the head and blow them up in 1 or 2 hits. And the defense is good from Bifrost. That was a teleport from Coincidence as well that didn't really have much impact. So again, another good situation for Bifrost. They keep things fairly level. Even though the gold advantage is still a roughly 3,000, they are managing to keep it around that level.
I think it shows how rough a botched engage can be for Bifrost, though. If Dusty can kite back using the power of, Make It Rain and the Karma speed-ups, it's very easy to put down the ultimate off the Misfortune and do a lot of damage, and then the re-engage from the Lee Sin and LeBlanc are so threatening. So
I feel like the angle that Pedersen chose of his Ornn ultimate was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
As someone who myself likes to play Ornn, if I'm in that situation, I would probably be Ornn, even if I don't intend to hit them directly where they are, I would be Ornn ulting towards the tower to cut off their immediate escape route towards the tower, rather than he kind of bisected the mid lane.
Yeah.
Whereas I would be aiming it towards the tower to cut off an escape route.
Better slow angle, potentially. But
yeah, true.
Either way, Dusty do end up coming out favorably. And they're now 2,500 gold up, so sort of rebuilt that gold lead. Shackle's going to throw down the Herald in the mid lane. Would be the first tower, and that charge should be just enough to take it out. The question is, can an engage come in? But Quinston's no TP and not here, and Fiala's roamed up, so this should just go down.
Yeah, they're going to give it away. It was Fiala just sitting in the sidelines. They knew he was there. They didn't want to get overzealous with that, as we've talked about a couple of overzealous plays from Dusty already. But the next dragon's coming. This is the one that Bifrost are going to want to be there to contest. They don't want to give this up because suddenly that win condition becomes harder and harder to fight against. When that fourth dragon is being threatened every single time the dragon comes up, it's going to be very difficult for Bifrost. And like you said, the objective trading is important. They get an immediate engage onto Legions, but he is a LeBlanc, so he'll be fine.
Knockup comes in, but Shackle could be in trouble here.
Winston's jumps straight in. He's locked in there. Immediately gets kicked out, and they jump in. They get Legions traded for the Jarvan so far. Quinston's now dives out. That shows you just how useless Fiora is in teamfights at this stage. And actually, Bifrost get away with it in a situation where they could potentially get this dragon. A nice knock-up, and Joachim goes down, and suddenly there's just that Misfortune and Karma. That's a zoning ultimate from Misfortune. It's not actually going to get much work done, but they are low enough potentially now for Hoyes. He pops in. That's a good heal. Probably be able to pick up Pedersen here.
Yeah, Pedersen just overstepping there, not respecting the Misfortune and how powerful she is. She's been the saving grace in these team fights where Quinston's... Oh, she's going in.
Going straight in as Hoyes gets a double kill. Suddenly now Fiala trading back. And that will indeed be a 1-for-1 as the shutdown comes through for Energy. But it has served its purpose. Immediately a teleport coming back into the mid lane to push onto that mid lane tier 1. And Joachim is up. They might even be able to go straight for this dragon.
Yeah, I mean, they got 3 members down there just for Hoyes. So really solid engage, really solid trade. And he's looking good. They've given him a lot of gold in this Misfortune, and it's paying off. Right now, Shackle's heading to the dragon sooner, but Legion's getting some damage on this tower. And we talked about how important the mid lane tower is for just ensuring control on the map. And Legion's going to be denied it by Shackle. Engage coming in here. Energy just executes only 35.
I don't know if Energy can get much else done, though, as he's now stuck in the middle of no man's land. Legion jumps in, misses the chains, though. How much can they make work as a great flash comes through? The shutdown is there, but Ornn is ready to chase back. Quinston dives in, the heal comes through, and this should be the 3rd dragon of the game.
Oh, I believe Joachim kicked Pedersen out of his searing charge. I think that must be the reason he didn't get knocked up. But either way, Dusty defining some solid skirmishes. Energy goes for a pick, but it ends up backfiring. Third dragon will be secured, and this mid tower going to go down to boot. So overall, Dusty, despite Bifrost putting up their best efforts, it's still going to be in their favor. 3,000 gold lead, third dragon secured, and all the outer towers now down.
Yeah, they have a lot of room to play with in the blue side and red side jungle entrances. They can start to put some more aggressive vision down. Again, the Baron is also on the cards. And as you spoke about, you know, we've now got another 4 and so minutes till the dragon pops up in a situation where Bifrost are going to have to think about choosing between the Dragon Soul or the Baron, or choosing between the Baron and the Dragon Soul. That is what 3 dragons puts on the table for Bifrost.
Yeah, absolutely. And it makes things difficult. You can see now just the items coming in. 2 item spike for energy with that Ludens on that Proto Belt. Really powerful in this Lysandra. But on the other side, takes that. We saw him actually catch up in terms of items off the early skirmishes, but he has just a Blade with Rune King and a Zeal. Hoyes, he's at 70% crit chance. He has that Infinity Edge extra crit damage. He has that Essence Reaver for the cooldown reduction. This Misfortune is absolutely monstrous. Is really difficult if she's not dealt with. She is flashless, so if Shackle finds a Cataclysm, it will be a big factor. But you can see 3,000 gold up.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of an advantage in the mid lane for energy. And actually, only 35 has a fair amount of gold as a support, which is always nice for Karma, who uses it so effectively. But for the most part, it's just that big difference in the 80 carry role. Level 10 now on the Ornn, and 12 is where those his own items come in, but 13 is when he starts handing them out, but only 35.
Speaking of only 35, I think he is just dead, and he will eventually go down here. I don't know if Bifrost can convert this into anything, though. Maybe some pressure on this mid lane tier 2. No one here to actually protect Hoyes.
But look at the flanks coming in. Legions is moving, as is Joachim. They could look for an engage here with a lot of ults down.
There's a lot of ultimates down, like you said. Now jumping onto energy, immediately uses that Zhonya's, as does Hoyes. He's now stuck in the middle of no man's land, gets immediately blown up. And now Bifrost are rallying. Coincidence teleports only to dive away. And that was a really good collapse. Maybe some aggressive positioning coming out from Hoyes there. Wasn't expecting the blowback coming in from Bifrost.
And he felt confident having the cleanse, but cleanse doesn't stop the damage. Gets blown up, and critically, Takeset is the one who gets that shutdown. That should be able to finish out his second item, put him in a little bit more equal. That was where the biggest disparity was seen between members of the team.
I feel like we're seeing classic Dusty right now. Had some leads, continue to throw them. Had some leads, continue to throw them. And they just let Bifrost into the game when they really don't need to.
Yeah, but I mean, I like the collapse. It was just, you have to respect the teamfight turnaround potential from Bifrost. Hoyes was not in a good position.
I don't like the collapse as much because Hoyes has to be aggressive with the positioning to get into range. Misfortune is a relatively short range AD carry compared to most, apart from her ultimate. So the only reason I don't like the collapse is that you have the claw and also the Jarvan EQ combo that can immediately jump onto Misfortune, who has no way of displacing herself if she gets caught out like that. I just think that positioning-wise, if you think about positioning, it was too easy for Bifrost to just turn around and blow up Misfortune. And as you know, as you rightly pointed out just a moment ago, Legion's actually not that much of a threat right now. Legion's way behind energy in terms of gold, and really the biggest threat on, and the majority of the gold lead is coming through Hoyes directly.
Absolutely. I will say, however, as this has all been going on, Quinstance has been farming up. He's at 202.
And he's got Titanic.
Yeah, got that Titanic for the wave clear and the lifesteal, and then also that Manamune stacking up, and obviously gives a lot of AD and also a very cheap item, so he's hitting some strong spikes, and at some point he's going to become a pretty difficult task to deal with in the side lane. So the onus will be on Bifrost to keep the pace of the game, but right now they're looking for him.
Oh, immediately gets locked up, tries to riposte the damage, actually flashes over the wall and uses the blast cone. Energy is chasing him down here.
No Protobelt though, but...
No Protobelt, and he'll be able to get away. He doesn't have flash either.
It's like on the other side, Dusty are trying to pressure Fiala, but very easy for him just to blow through the waves, especially if he needs to. He has the cannon barrage, but the big thing up, 45 seconds on that fourth dragon. This will be the soul, so Bifrost need to contest it, and by putting so many resources on the top side of the map, you can look at the vision control on the mini-map. Dusty have just completely established control of the bot side river.
And actually, no teleports available for Bifrost either, and you can see pings coming down onto Coincidence. Coincidence just needs to continue to do what he's doing, whilst the rest of his team carefully dances around that dragon pit without committing too much. They just let Coincidence do his thing. They're actually rotating Coincidence down. They care this much about the Dragon. I don't know if I agree with that.
I don't like this. I feel like this is the thing, is that Bifrost have to contest this Dragon. If you stall them, Coincidence could have taken that tier 2 tower. I guess the one counterpoint is that the wave was dying out. But either way, good burst coming out on a Shackle will poke him out.
Bifrost made a mistake there.
Yeah.
They positioned badly. Shackle takes too much damage. Don't know how easy it's going to be for him to contest this, as though they have to, as Bifrost jump in. It's only 35 that gets locked up, but Shackle is almost down. And if he goes down, there's no chance of them stealing the Dragon. And I think this will be it. I think this will be Dragon Soul picked up for Dusty. Bifrost know they can't contest it. And there we go, Dragon Soul picked up.
What can they convert this into? Jungler down. If they want to, they can go to that Baron area, threaten it, and with the extra shielding from the Mountain Soul, they won't actually take too much damage. If Bifrost try to contest this, they may just end up losing members. The pick potential from Legions is huge, so they're starting the Baron up. No smite for Bifrost. They need to win this team fight, but Legions...
He's waiting on the sideline, immediately jumps into Fiala. Fiala is so low, the chains should get the work done, as he's stuck now in the blue side jungle. Legions will pick up the kill. And Coincidence jumps in, great kick. They're going to take down Takeset as well, and Energy unfortunately can do nothing more than look on as the rest of his team gets decimated, and he is on the plate just afterwards. This will be the Baron.
Some really good calls coming out from Dusty. Good use of the lack of vision available to Bifrost, and Legion's waiting for the perfect time to execute that gangplank. Shackle, he can go for a steal. That's the only way they stop this Baron from going in the hands of Dusty.
It's so good from Dusty because they knew that Bifrost were desperate to contest this with the jungler being down. Coincidence jumps in with Legion. They're trying to get onto Shackle, who jumps over. Hasn't got his flash available. There is no blast cone. He actually ults over the wall, but they balance the HP of the Baron so nicely. Dusty now, they are in 6th gear. They're driving full speed. Very little, I think, that Bifrost can do now. Yeah,
they kept the Baron at a perfect amount of HP, so Shackle could not smite, steal it no matter what, and they end up getting a ton of kills on top of the Baron. The gold lead now 7,000, Mountain Soul in their hands. Dusty are looking really comfortable. The caveat is they've been in positions where they absolutely should have won the game before, so they still need to close this one out. By all means, this should be a free game. But Dusty, they need to be cautious they don't overstep and end up committing into the CC available for Bifrost. A dive could cost them massively. But for now, they're sending Coincidence to the bot lane. They can set up a 1-3-1 and apply Baron to all 3 lanes if they want to.
Like I said, I think the draft from Dusty was really good this game. I think that they thought about what Ornn could do. And they said, well, Ornn top is bad into Fiora, Ornn bot is bad into Karma. There was very little outs. There were very few outs at Bifrost, and I think they exploited that really nicely on the bot side of the map. They gave them the platform to succeed with those dragons that allowed them to get the Dragon Soul. It's all been built from that very early laning phase from the Karma. And yes, there has been blips along the way, but objective-wise and objectives of the map, it has been built off that Karma and Misfortune lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think big factors as well is that their coordination around the dragons. They don't look necessarily for the team fights because they know there's a concern up against Bifrost composition. Instead, they let Legions try and find some poke. As soon as Shackle was chunked out, it was very hard for Bifrost to find a way into this game. The 1-3-1 doing wonders here, applying Baron to 3 waves. Mid tower already down, bot tower and top falling pretty soon in tandem. And we're still with quite a lot of time left on the Baron. They can look to push more. They gotta be a little bit cautious when you're getting close to the inhibitor towers, though.
I just feel like the damage from Bifrost isn't there right now. I don't think they can contest easily. They have to keep, I think they have to keep Takeset so safe in these fights, especially versus the Mountain Soul, because he's the real sustained damage for this team. Obviously, Gangplank is there now with his Triforce, but he's going to have to continuously pressure against Coincidence, who's just shoving in the side lanes.
Big level leads coming out as well. The team fighting the Baron put them at 16, but a fight now starting.
Those Ornn ultimates have not been on point for Pedersen this game. He hasn't really found many good opportunities.
And he's still not at the point where he can start giving out items. Coincidence kills that tower in the bot lane, and the tower goes down top. They're being split across too many lanes. They can't find an engage onto enough members, and Bifrost's base is just falling apart.
Yeah, I think they give almost 3 inhibitors up here. They're just consistently pulling at the seams. They jump in straight onto the backline of Misfortune ultimate. I mean, Misfortune hasn't even bloody died. She's still going. Somehow, with the entire kitchen sink of Bifrost thrown at her, she ends up getting a triple kill. And that really just sums up the latter half of this game for Dusty. They have been a monster to deal with, and they will take the win.
And Dusty have done it where a game looked like it was in their favor. Theirs to win. They close it out. They've definitely had rough moments before in the Nordic Championship, but they were decisive there. And it was just solid play all around. They knew their win conditions. They knew how they had to play situations, and they enabled their composition. So credit to them.
Like I said, they drafted, I think, specifically for that. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I'd love to hear if that's the case, but I definitely feel that Karma was like, well, you take on top, you're going into Fiora, you take on bot, you've got Karma. Yeah. And again, they exploited the lane that worked the best for them. It was that Misfortune Karma lane. They got so many advantages, created so much pressure on the bottom side of the map, and then the Dragon Soul came through. They were forced to fight around that fourth dragon at a point where they were feeling pretty strong.
Yep.
Again, some mistakes, I think, positionally from Bifrost in that fight, but nevertheless, it was good execution on those mistakes from Dusty, and then straight into Baron, and once that Baron was taken, that was the end of the game.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that once that third dragon has been secured, the fourth one, it's not even like, okay, they can get the dragon and we'll win the fight. You just want to deny that Dragon Soul away, and you could see Shackle's main focus was getting into the pit, and that is what cost them in the end. Bifrost put up a valiant effort. There was a lot of team fighting strength in their composition. I just feel like they gave too many laning advantages, specifically in the bot lane, that made things so difficult for Takesa. And he's been a strong performer for the roster, and it just felt rough to see him completely shut out the game there, but solid performance from Dusty.
Good mental from Dusty as well, to get 3-buffed essentially in the start of the game, and still just keep your level head, come in and work on the lanes that work best for you. And Legion didn't exactly pop off that game, but when it counted, he executed. Yeah. That was the most important thing. When he had to pick someone off, he had to chain the right person, he was doing that. And I've got to give credit to Energy, though. I think Energy had a really good game on the Lissandra. I think he played very well. You know, I think Bifrost in general had some really good moments there. They kept that gold lead manageable for the most part, but Dusty came out with something to prove. They came out swinging, and yeah, I think they've done a good job this time around.
Yeah, gotta agree completely. Solid performance and a good opportunity to bounce back from there. I mean, they had one solid performance in week one, which was very decisive, but the other two definitely shaky. And I think by all arguments, they should have won those two games. They could have been looking at a 4-0 record if they didn't just trip at the last moment. So nice to get this one against a formidable team, because Bifrost they were 2-1, now 2-2.
What I really like about Dusty as well is Coincidence is a serious threat in the top lane.
Yep.
I guess I compare him to Licorice almost, from LCS, where you have a top lane that it can be a genuine threat, on the top side of the map. So I think that's a really, really good asset for Dusty, and we'll look forward to seeing them going forward. Now, we're going to cut to a quick break. When we're back, we have our third game of the night. It will be Singularity versus Hillerod.